Peter was the first pope, and he had successors that can trace his office to the current day. If we look at Acts 1:24 through 26, we see Judas's office gets replaced by Matthias. How much more would the head of the apostles have a successor? Peter was given a special office apart from the other apostles, Matthew 16:18 through 19, which says, "And I say to you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." He was given the keys of the kingdom, which is also explained in the Old Testament, Isaiah 22:22. It says, "The key of the house of David I will lay on his shoulder, so he shall open, and no one shall shut, and he shall shut, and no one shall open." Isaiah 9:6 through 7 and Luke 1:32 says that Jesus will sit on the throne of David, and his reign will be forever. So just like in David's kingdom, Jesus has someone in charge of the keys. In Isaiah 22:21 it says that he will be the father to a nation. The term pope comes from the word papa, or father. Protestants will interpret Matthew 16:18 as Jesus referring to himself as the rock that he built his church on, but a close look at the Greek and Aramaic would show that Peter is this rock. The New Testament was written in Greek. In Matthew 16:18 would read, "You are Petros, and on this Petra I will build my church." Petra is the feminine word for rock. So translating Peter, they use masculine form, Petros. They will argue back, Petros means small stone, Petra means large rock. In certain forms of Greek that's so, but not Koine Greek that the New Testament was written in. Jesus and the apostles spoke Aramaic, so parts of the Bible where Jesus is speaking is a translation from Aramaic to Greek. So Jesus said, "You are Cephas, and on this Cephas I will build my church." In other words, you are rock, and on this rock I will build my church. If Jesus wanted to call Peter a small stone, he would have used the Aramaic word kevna, which would translate to the Greek word lithos. We should also remember that Jesus changed his name from Simon to Peter, a name that no one else had before this time, and whenever a name change occurs in the Bible, something important is happening. Abram to Abraham, Jacob to Israel, for example. You sometimes hear about the chair of Peter. This was a fulfillment of the chair of Moses in the Old Testament. Matthew 23:2 says, "The scribes and Pharisees sit on Moses' seat." There was always someone in charge of interpreting and the scripture and leading the people. After Moses died, Joshua was his successor. Peter had his successors too, Linus, Cletus, Clement, so on. Pope Benedict XVI is the 265th successor of Peter. Irenaeus of Lyon in 180 AD gives us an early listing of this succession in his work Against Heresies, Book 3, Chapter 3. It says, "Since, however, it would be very tedious in such a volume as this to reckon up all the successions of all the churches, we do put to confusion all those who, in whatever manner, whether by an evil self-pleasing vainglory, or by blindness and perverse opinion, assemble in unauthorized meetings. We do this, I say, by indicating that tradition derived from the apostles of the very great and very ancient and universally known church founded and organized at Rome by the two most glorious apostles, Peter and Paul, as a means of the successions of the bishops. For it is a matter of necessity that every church should agree with this church on the account of its preeminent authority. That is, the faithful everywhere, inasmuch as the apostolic tradition has been preserved continuously by those who are everywhere." He goes on to list 12 successors to Peter up until that day in paragraph 3. Origen lived from 185 to 254 AD, and he wrote in De Principis, Book 4, "You cannot deny that you are aware that in the city of Rome the episcopal chair was given first to Peter, the chair in which Peter sat, the same who was head, that is why he is called Cephas, rock, of all the apostles, the one chair in which unity is maintained by all." Jerome, who lived from 347 to 420 AD, in the Dialogue Against the Luciferians, chapter 23, says, "Pope Stephen was the blessed Peter's 22nd successor in the See of Rome."